Meeting on Monday, November 22nd, 2021. Roll call, please.
Smith.
Here.
Weinrich.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Robish.
Present.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda approval. Do we have any additions to the agenda tonight? Seeing none.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Commissioner Robish moves to approve. Need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. At this time, the City Commission adjourns to convene as a Board of Adjustment for the following public hearings. And with that title, I will ask our city planner to start off with 3.1. Explain.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is an application for a variance by Barry Mack. The variance request was to construct an addition to an attached garage that will be set back 52 feet from the front edge of the road, where code requires a minimum of 75 feet from the front yard setback, in an area zone RO, Large Lot Residential District. This is a pretty simple thing. He's just trying to come out to the front of his house by about 6 feet. The reason he had to get a variance is because when he built the house, it was prior to the existing ordinance that's in place today. And so he didn't meet the 75 feet when he constructed the house, and so now if he's gonna add another 6 feet, he even lessened that amount. And so we made him get a variance, and so the hearing examiner recommended approval on this.
Okay?
Barry Mack is in the audience, should you have any questions?
Barry, do you have anything to add to this?
No,
Name and address?
Barry Mack, 885 Parkside Drive, Southwest Huron.
Okay.
No, I don't have anything to add. I did speak to all the adjoining neighbors too, and they were all, had no problem with it. So it's kind of a formality, I guess.
Mhm.
Somebody got any questions for Barry? See none, thank you.
Move to approve the request.
Motion by Commissioner Smith to approve.
Second.
Need a second by Commissioner Robish. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Passed, thank you. 3.2.
Okay, this is a variance request filed by the New Plains, Inc. Project address of 960 4th Street Northeast. They are requesting to allow interior and exterior storage units where code does not list rental storage as a permitted use in the area zone B3 General Business District. For purposes of clarification here, the B districts, the only place you can have storage units in Huron within city limits is in the I districts. And so that's one of the reasons he's requesting a variance, is to allow him to build indoor storage units. There is plans, as you can see from the packet that was submitted, there are plans for future consideration, which would be phase 2. And that would be outside exterior storage, and it would be basically to the southwest, is my understanding, right, Mike?
Yes, the southwest,
Yeah. But that would be in the future, and Mike would wanna, he's told us he'd wanna do kind of a little bit of a feasibility plan on that before he pulled the trigger on phase 2. So phase 1 would be the interior where the former ballroom area was at, so we can get a better revenue stream on his property there. And then phase 2 would be future consideration. Mike Wasman, owner of the Plains, is here if you have any questions. For the record, the hearing examiner did recommend approval with the caveat that full plans need to be provided by a registered engineer or an architect for all outside construction and attachment to the existing building, And then Chris Newman has asked that all fire codes and architectural codes, engineering codes need to be matched for the IBC, the 2018. The codes that were approved or were reviewed for this project were based on 2012, and Huron has 2018 IBC codes. So that was, and we've talked to Mike about that, and he's aware of that. So with that, any questions?
Do we have, let's get a motion? Should we get a motion and we'll have a discussion? Have a motion to approve?
I would move for approval.
Commissioner
Second.
Smith, moved to approve by Mr. Weimer, second. Now we can have a discussion. Any discussions? Yes, Commissioner Smith.
Probably more of a technical question, Barry, but what's the hangup of having interior storage units in a business zone? What's the theory behind that? Or
It's just, our code only allows for industrial locations.
Fell out of my chair. Too big for my britches. Pardon me.
Okay. So our existing code only allows for that use within industrial districts. And he is located in a B district or B3 district, and there's very little surrounding impact that he would have, and we recognize that, and that's why as staff we recommended approval. The bigger concern was the outdoor storage, where if they were to attach to the building and how they were going to do that. And so that's what Chris is mostly concerned about. Then on the interior, the one thing he is concerned about is there's a change of occupancy, and will that change the fire code?
sure, yeah.
And so that's something he wants to look at, and so he wants to see a full set of plans before he can make a determination of that.
Okay. And Mike, are you changing, like the entrance of that ballroom area then to facilitate that, or is there
Well,
some
it's real
fabrication going on there?
It's real preliminary right now. I just wanted to see if I was able to do it
Could do it?
before I
Sure.
spent a bunch of money on
Yeah.
a full set of plans, so.
Yeah. More curious than fact finding.
Curious about,
I'm more curious if you're gonna change the front entry or anything like that.
oh, there shouldn't be any changes to that I.
Still be
that
a
I'm aware of.
walk-in
Yep,
type facility.
yep, we'd have certain hours and whatnot, and by appointment.
Gotcha.
So the exterior won't change at all in the ballroom part, but in the back, of course, just be some standard metal steel buildings. you know,
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That's all I have for questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioner Robish.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess then my question would be to Mike again on if this is phase one and phase two, would phase two not take place if phase one didn't make it?
It might go all together at the same time, I'm not sure yet, I get, building costs have gone way up, so
Sure,
I wanna
sure.
see what I can handle all at once,
Yep.
so. Like I said, we'll be doing a feasibility study to see if it's even worthwhile, but it's an idea I have to utilize my banquet space.
Right.
It's no longer, don't do any banquets anymore, the city and the state do all them, so gotta do something else.
Okay.
And I thought this was a unique idea and would go over well.
Any other questions for Mike? Yes.
Yeah, I guess for me, I think the interior one makes great sense and shouldn't, this body shouldn't really have too much to say what you do inside the space as long as it's not illegal. If it's not gonna change the outside, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to do whatever you want within there. But I do wonder about just, building what some people consider unattractive. That's why the storage units have to be in certain parts of the town. Now you've got an empty lot on one side, although the city might have plans for that. You've got you can't really see it from there, but you've got the lake and all that stuff adjacent to that. But that would be, I guess that, I would have a little more heartburn about, and I know you would do it right if you do it, but I could see where that would be a concern of taking that outdoor public space area, there are still plans on the table potentially for that land that was purchased for campsites, you know, so if we end up doing that, if people are gonna wanna pull their camper in and be right next to a storage unit. So, you know, to me, I see.
Will probably look nicer than my existing building.
I would say, you know, that's where phase one and phase two are, to me, are a little bit different, just because, you know, that's where, and I don't know if you're looking for saying it would only make sense to you to do it all, but, you know, I would rather see us approve, do whatever you want on the inside, but maybe see some more of the plans on two before, but I don't know how much that impacts. I mean, like you said, I know you're gonna get drawings done and stuff, so I don't, you know, we're not looking to be, because it might look great, you know, so I don't wanna just say, nope, I'm against it, because I'm not, you know, it might look great, but that's the piece I guess I would like to see a little bit more what that might look like before we'd look at, just because that is I mean, if some of those trees were changed over by Ravine Lake, you could have a view of that from the lakeside, you know, there is a master plan for that, as you are well aware, and, you know, a lot of the stuff has not gone anywhere now, but it might in the future, so that's where I would just be concerned about the beautification of that area if we're working against it by putting storage units in there.
Oh, it's gonna be beautiful, Rich.
Right. Like, can you put campers in a storage unit? Then you could just get two out of one.
Mike, I apologize, there is a picture of what your frontage would look like in the packet, and
Yep.
I overlooked that.
Okay.
so
I think it looks pretty nice myself. I don't know how much more detail you would want.
Well, it would all depend on plans. Like I said, Chris wanted to see the full build-out plans, and so that's something that we would do internally and make sure it met code and everything.
Now, did you look into what Jones brought up? That at the south end of my property there, is there an easement there for something?
Dennis and I did briefly speak about that.
Yeah, there's a water main that runs right at probably your south property line, runs east-west there,
Okay.
feeds the baseball diamond and stuff.
But
Then
that's,
loops around and goes down 14.
and that's south of my property,
Probably south edge, I would guess.
south
without-
edge.
Without looking.
But I couldn't find anything that there was an existing easement. And I think,
That's
And the closest I'd come to the edge of the property is 3 feet, like the
Oh,
center.
right.
So I don't have to fire rocket.
Right.
Yep.
No, this would be the pheasant here, right? So this is that piece of land we just bought.
Oh,
So-
Right along his property line there, we would have water.
So that, I mean, potentially, yeah, it's, the edge of the building is in your one proposed drawing, it'd be right along that.
And so if he stays 3 feet on the inside of his property line, so he doesn't have to fire code sheetrock it anyway,
What was,
it should be okay.
what was Mike talking about, garbage trucks though, what was that?
I think on the west end of the building, probably, on the west.
Oh, yeah,
end or on the
just
south.
so, yeah, he was talking about ingress and egress of being able to get back there to pick up trash and stuff.
And with this preliminary drawing, is that still, and I don't know
Yeah,
where
my
that's at.
dumpster's on the east side of this addition, and I have another one on the west side of the building, and he pulls through there, there's nothing preventing him from going around the other way, and, you know, you can get over there.
Any more questions for Mike?
So, but as it came to us now, we're voting on both the interior and the exterior as all one.
Yes.
I mean, because that's what you wanna move forward with, is pricing for both of those, and you wanna
Yes.
make sure you can do it before you
Yep.
invest. So if we were to just approve the one, that doesn't do you a whole heck of a lot of good right now.
Right, yes, I'd like approval for both.
Any more discussion, Mike?
So we as staff looked at that, and the hearing examiner agreed, as long as he'll submit a full set of plans, and we can review those for fire code and building code compliance, we'd recommend approval.
Is there such a thing? I mean, again, I don't wanna hang him up where he feels like he's still unsure if it's gonna happen, but is there some way we could have an architectural review as a part of that too, just to make sure that it's in keeping with the standards that we want for the area without knowing we're not gonna make it the Taj Mahal, but just, if we could have that, just so that this group is not signing off on it tonight, and then later having no input on what those look like. Can we, is there a way we can?
It's your motion, I guess. I mean, I
It-
don't know
it-
what
And
to
I
say.
haven't done a lot of this,
Yeah.
and again, I don't wanna do something where he's still thinking the whole time,
An
maybe
architectural
it won't go
review
forward, but.
and an engineer's review is basically the same. What they're doing is reviewing that they meet code. So,
Yeah, and I guess what I'm looking for is just, from a beautification standpoint, that it fits in with the plans for that area.
That might be more than just his property too, though. That's gonna be the surrounding property also.
Well, right, but I'm just saying this, yeah, obviously he can't do anything about the other properties, but we can make sure that this one is attractive so that when we do other things, it's in keeping with what we do. And again, I'm not saying you wouldn't, Mike, I know you want it to look attractive too. And
Oh, definitely, it's probably gonna match in with my existing building color-wise. It'll just be metal instead of masonry block that people are looking at, so I don't see how it would be ugly by any means. Or offend anybody.
So Mary, are you gonna add that to what Rich is asking? Could you add that or not? Or do you think that's not?
there's no real difference between an architectural review versus an engineer's review, is my point.
Okay.
so what I was saying, you know,
If you wanted to make a condition of
Mike.
seeing a plan before phase 2 is allowed to kick off, I mean, that's up to you guys.
just another set of the final plans. And again, I try to be careful how I phrase this, because I don't want to put you in a position where you move forward and spend a bunch of money and then think I'm still gonna get stuck on this, because that's not specifically what I'm trying to do. I would just like this group to not tonight to sign off on it and say, okay, we're done, and then not have any involvement. If you would sell the property or somebody else comes in, you know, it'd be nice to know that we still have one more look at this before the construction goes forward, is all I'm looking for.
And then be able to deny it after I spend all that money?
At least be able to have some say in what it looks like.
Do you just wanna say a ground view from the south edge, what it would look like?
And
It's gonna be metal and it's gonna be brown.
Right.
And I just want to interject.
Yes.
You know, Mr. Smith has made a motion and I second it, so it would be up to Mr. Smith to change that motion, so.
We're just trying to get what the motion's gonna be.
Right, but he'd have to be the
Yeah,
one to.
yeah, you would have to change his motion. Good. We're not there yet.
I guess I just wanna, Mr. Cranston's trying to get these pictures up on here, and I just wanna make sure that I'm right, my directions are right here.
I mean, right now, it's tucked back in the corner where no one's gonna see it.
Right.
The city did purchase that land directly adjacent to it and has some drawings right now potentially to put some campsites there. Nothing's been finalized, but I just wanna be aware of the fact that right now, it's an empty lot that no one cares about. But moving forward, there may be some plans as a part of the master plan to beautify that area, so just wanna think carefully before we do that, if we wanna have metal storage sheds in there.
So if I'm not mistaken, that picture that was just on there, Mike,
Yep.
the outside storage, that would be on the south side of your building.
Yeah, it would encompass the south side of the ballroom, the range room, and then the bowling
It
alley.
goes west to just the edge.
Yep,
You're not building anything west.
nothing west of the edge of my ballroom, yeah, just continue it south.
Give me a minute, I'll pull it back up.
And it's not, yeah, when you get it up, you'll see, it's not even all the way to the street side of the building, so I mean, it's, what he's got is tucked back away from the road there, so.
I anticipated that was the south, there you go. I anticipated that was the south side of the building, but I just wanted to.
Yep, yeah, Big D's is on the right side of that picture.
Okay.
You've been there before. I don't, if you got what the plans are for, you said camping spots?
That's, I mean, yeah, nothing's been finalized, but there was potentially a bathhouse or some pull-through campsites, there's a few different things in the master plan that we might use that land that was purchased there, so. It would, you know, in the future, it may not always just be a
Right.
lot that nobody cares about.
Right.
So I'm not trying to be a big thorn in your side.
Well, I'm
trying to
just
think of the whole
wondering
master plan.
how these would look any worse than my existing building.
Well, I mean, some people don't like metal storage units, you know, that's why we have certain districts that they can be built in and some we can't, so. Let's put it this way, not that we make decisions for that reason, but there will be somebody that will complain about it, but there's somebody that will complain about everything we do every week. We don't make decisions based on that, but I'll guarantee you there'll be somebody that says those shouldn't have been there.
Okay.
Maybe a question I'd have, maybe, Mike, do you have any plans for any landscaping or any shrubbery on the south side?
Well, it'll have to be, you know, flattened. I don't have any plans for that, no.
Okay.
But if a few bushes would make it look better, put in a few bushes.
If you're only off 3 feet, you're only gonna have.
Yeah, I wouldn't have room for that, yeah. So we put a mural on there if you want.
There you go.
There you go.
The new planes on the
Yeah.
side, right?
I don't know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be difficult here, I know that master plan for that whole park is something that we're in the midst of looking for right now, so before we move forward, it seems like it would be nice if we could have one more look to, and again, not for the purpose of denying it, like you're saying, but for the purpose of just having some input onto what the final product looks like.
So are there doors on the south side of that new, or just on the inside?
Just
where
on the
vehicles-
inside.
Yeah, well, there's 2 rows of units, you know, one you enter.
And the doors are on the inside?
Yes. Yep.
On both?
Yep. There's a sliding gate, so you can drive through and around, and Mike doesn't have any problem with that, Jones, that is.
And I guess I think what Rich is alluding to, I think that would help. Because there's gonna be no storage stuff out in front. If I'm camping there, I'm not gonna see any garage doors, I'm not gonna see people coming in and out of those garage doors.
Correct.
That helps that situation.
It's just a brown wall, just like my ballroom. We'll see how it would,
Do you wanna
it
add
might look
anything
better
to
than the
your
existing
motion?
building.
No, I didn't.
Huh?
No.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
gonna fly? We good with that? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. We've had discussion. Roll
I-
call.
Excuse me, I think rules of order would be if Commissioner Bragg wants to modify or amend the motion, he has the privilege of doing that, or denying the motion on the table.
You're making a
You can
motion to
amend
amend, you
your
mean, yeah.
motion, yes.
Correct.
I mean, as far as discussion, we don't need to make a big deal out of this. If nobody has a problem with storage sheds, I'm sure there'll be brand new units, they'll be attractive. If nobody's got a problem, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. But if anybody else feels like we wanna have one more shot to have a look at it before he moves forward, that's what the request that I would have. And again, not looking to, you know,
one more look at.
at just visually what the final product is gonna look like after you get everything back before we, and like you say, if we would say, hey, we do want some bushes or, you know, something like that.
But this, Mike, this is your concept, what we have up there right now. This is the concept you have. This
Yep.
is what it's gonna, 99% of the time, it's what it's gonna end up looking, isn't it? You have, how you got your unit set up, the screen doors there, in and
Yep.
out the other way.
Yep.
How is it gonna be any different? What are you visualizing there, Rick? I mean, you can only do so much with storage sheds. I mean, he's got the doors facing on the inside, so if I put my pup tent out back there, I won't see anything but the back door of the back side of the shed.
Okay. Yep, that's fine, then I'm fine with that, apparently I'm the only, I just, you know, we're doing a variance to put utility sheds in a space that's not zoned for that. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to ask for some additional architectural improvements just to make it more attractive.
Okay, so how are you gonna hang him up doing that? How's that gonna hang him up, do you think?
And how far do I gotta go with the,
That's a
with
question.
plans, so you know what it's gonna look like? We all know what they look like. And like he said, Mark said, there's no doors on the south side, so you basically would be a tan
Yep.
building just like the existing one I got, so I don't know how it would look any different to anybody that's over there. Probably look better.
Okay.
I do have one question though. What's the drainage plan on that
I haven't gone that far.
with it?
It's gonna be gravel driveway through the center. I mean, the storage sheds will be on a slab.
Right, but I mean, are the roof drainage, is that gonna fall to the pitch on that? Is that gonna fall outside of the center, I assume?
I would guess, yeah.
You know? So the drainage would shoot over to the street in some form, I assume? Or would it just roll? I'm picturing that as a downhill slope on that, Mike, to the
Well,
south.
I'm assuming it's gonna go to the west, actually. Or the south. Guess I hadn't considered that.
Well, Barry looks that up. As far as the other part, I mean, I don't need you to make any change to the motion. If you guys are fine with the approving it, you know, and there's nothing that says he's even gonna do it, he's just looking into it at this point, and if that keeps you from being hung up, I wanted to raise the point. I did, so.
I guess that's a consideration that I would have, because, you know, you're gonna create some water coming off there in the heavy rain, and where's it gonna go? You know, is it gonna,
In the ground.
Or it's going down.
well, is it gonna go to the neighboring properties?
You'd want it to go.
If I may, I believe it will drain towards Easy Street, which would be right across our property. So we would have to have an approved drainage plan before construction.
That's where I'm going with it, Dennis.
Is there any storm drains near there?
Easy Street is right here.
On Easy Street,
So Easy Street is the south.
but you can't
street.
drain your water on someone else's property.
Right.
You have to, so you would have to take it to a public right of way,
You could take it out to
Jersey.
Jersey.
Yes,
But, I mean, that would take some ingenuity, but you'd have to take it out to Jersey.
yep. Might take some curb and gutter and drainage,
Right.
yep.
We can do that.
I appreciate
Drain it to
your
Jersey, then.
comments, Rich, about, because it's not zoned for that, and that's what we run into every time, and it's like, how come this guy gets to do it and the next guy doesn't get to do it? I can appreciate that. And I just think,
Well, the only reason I raise the point, right now, the current use as of today,
Right.
it doesn't matter. But later on, if there's a park there, it might matter more. But it's hard to take him on a project he's looking at doing right now and throw all those what-ifs at him, so I understand.
So would the drainage design be part of the building permit?
Before the building permit would be approved, we have to have a drainage plan.
Okay,
I'm sure
there you go. Just
Chris Newman will address that when he issues permit.
probably for both of our knowledge.
Yep.
Brian, you good with your motion?
I am, yes.
Okay. Rich, you're good? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Robish.
I,
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to 3.3, Barry. You get your pictures up?
There we go.
Pardon me while I have a drink of water here first.
Okay. The third variance tonight is a request filed by Jeff Pawnell at project address 143 and 147 Dakota Avenue South. He is requesting to allow dwelling units that will be rented as apartments, Airbnb or short-term stays where code requires a conditional use permit, and to allow the dwelling unit sizes to range from 240 to 400 square feet where code requires A, each efficiency apartment shall not have less than 400 square feet of floor area. B, each apartment having one bedroom shall have not less than 500 square feet of floor area. And C, each apartment having two bedrooms shall have not less than 600 square feet of floor area. And to allow only 3 off-site parking spaces where code requires multiple dwellings in B districts shall provide 1 parking space per unit in an area zone B3 for general business district. With that, we spent a lot of time talking about this as staff internally as well as with the hearing examiner. As the planner, I recommended approval of items 1 and 2, A through C, but I wanted to see a minimum square footage of 300, 400, and 500 feet. Now, that was a little bit of a compromise compared to the ordinance, but the main reason I wanted to do that is because the average size of a hotel room, for example, is about 300 to 325 square feet. And Jeff was asking to drop down to 240 and then come up from there. At the hearing, he did explain that there are some physical constraints within that building that prevents him from having a minimum size of that 300 square feet. There's at least one room, there's a bathroom and 2, what he hopes would be 2 supporting rooms that would be considered a dwelling unit. And because of the bearing walls that are involved in the building, he cannot get to that 300 feet level. So we talked in depth about that, and the hearing examiner in the end recommended approval of all 3 of the requests subject to approved building plans being submitted by a registered engineer or architect, so that we can ensure that he meets fire code and the 2018 building code. Ron spent a lot of time going over the 240 square feet, and with Julie and I can live with that, given the physical constraint of the building. So on those items, I would recommend approval. We have had a lot of discussion about the parking. And my biggest concern about that is we've said that parking is a key part of doing these multifamily dwelling units. And we have parking ratios, off-street parking requirements that we make on churches and retail stores. I'm just visited with an architect about a new medical clinic, the hospital, the new medical office building. All of those we have to consider parking, and each one of those has a different ratio. So we spent a lot of time going through that, and I recommended to deny that part of the variance request. Now, after hearing Jeff's argument at the hearing examiner meeting, and he also, for the record, had a lot of support there as well. He had a number of, probably half a dozen people who spoke in support of what he is trying to do and his support for trying to improve the downtown area and things like that. And so after the meeting, Ron Godwin, who is the hearing examiner, I spoke, and there is a ordinance on our books that allows for joint use of public parking, so long as it doesn't negatively affect the joint use area. So meaning, in Jeff's case, where we wanted to see a 1-for-1, and he was hoping to have, for example, up to 5 apartments, we wanted to see 5 off-street parking units. Because the last thing we want to do is cause a problem where we end up, especially with this downtown project, and we are going to a 3-lane downtown, and we're gonna start handing out and towing vehicles out in front of his newly constructed apartments. So we looked at that and we did a little research. Julie and I did a little research today. The city of Mitchell, for example, does use a 1-for-1, but they have a joint use or joint parking ordinance, very similar to ours. The city of Yankton has, theirs is actually a little bit more stringent. It's 1.5 vehicles per dwelling unit. But again, they have a joint parking use, and they actually have a waiver program that their city administrator can actually waive the requirement from his office. So with that, and given the support and what he was trying to do, what I did on the picture on the wall there on the board, each one of those represents a 300-foot radius. And I think you all got this from my email that I sent you. So from here, for example, this is 3rd and Dakota, right here in the center. So what I did is I went from this, what would be the northeast corner of the parking lot across the street. And I drew a radius of 300 feet, and this is not to scale, this is obviously just something close. But Jeff's building does, at the very tip, does fall into that 300 foot. It's like 290 feet, 288. The other one is our would be the southwest corner, or excuse me, southeast corner of the parking lot behind the Plainsman over there, behind Hop. And that gives you a good idea of where they could use this kind of parking for joint use. So that's what these radii depict, and it gives you a sense of how far it is. Given that and all of the supportive testimony and everything that happened at the hearing examiner, then Ron Goglin felt compelled to recommend approval of that. And so, and Jeff and his, the people that testified on his behalf made a very compelling case, to endorse this project. And given that we do have an ordinance on the books that would allow, the joint use facilities, I would not oppose that. I would recommend approval as well.
Okay. Do you have a motion for approve?
Make a motion to approve the variance request filed by Mr. Cornell.
Second.
Commissioner Weinrich, motion to approve, second Commissioner Bragg. Any more discussion on this topic?
For the record, Jeff and his parents are both here, and if anybody wanted to ask them any questions.
Barry, you said
Yep.
specifically that 240 was specific to the historic layout and the bathroom and everything. Do you want to highlight that a little bit more, just because that was?
Well, Jeff, you can kind of explain what your circumstance is there with that small unit that you're talking about, the 240 square feet.
Rich, you want me to get up front?
Yes.
You guys know I love to talk, and I don't want to keep everybody, because I love downtown, right? Because, if it wasn't for that variance we had 2 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do the project, the ice cream shop that we did. And it's your graciousness on that variance that basically allowed us to restore that. And so, Rich, in answer to your question, it's an old hotel. I don't know if everyone saw, there was a really nice, there's Ben back there, there was a really nice article in the weekend paper about this. We'll build a really nice commercial space downstairs. It was originally a cafe, and upstairs there was 13 hotel rooms. So basically for 50, 60, 70 years, this operated without on-site parking and very small room sizes, 13. I'm gonna take those 13 and make them into 3, 4, or 5. I just haven't figured out yet. That's why we're here today. And it's a central hallway, Rich. So the building's 25 foot wide. There's a central hallway. A lot of these old buildings, they've got the hallway on the side because it's shared, through an easement with the building next door. In this case, it's not shared, so it's a central hallway, which means you basically have 10, 10, and 5. So what happens is there's a room and a bathroom, and these are load bearing. I can only go this way. So I basically have wasted space if I can't use it. It just basically makes the project just not work because I can't tear out the middle hallway. And for the historical integrity, we don't want to do that anyway. It's a real interesting property. It'll be a real asset to the community. It's very, very original upstairs, and as original as I can keep it, it'll be a real value added benefit to downtown. Is that good, Rich?
Yeah, thanks, and I mean, we always talk about precedents with these, and so this variance is very specific to this exact property.
It's specific because of the historical integrity of the building and the structure of the building, yes. It's not new construction, that's for sure.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Mark?
So our variance says it's a 1-for-1 parking?
It's one parking stall per unit. So one for one is what the ratio is. Other places are 1 to 5. Now, and you know this story better than I, Jeff, maybe you can explain that Phillips Avenue downtown in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I mean, one of the people who spoke in support, we had the Historical Society, Greater Huron, the Chamber and stuff all sent letters or came in support of this. But the example that was given, one of the speakers said, look, if you look at even downtown Sioux Falls, when you go stay at a hotel, and no, this isn't a hotel, this is, apartment Airbnb type thing, they basically just tell you to park on the street, and, there's nothing they can do unless they tear down the building next door and build more parking.
Right.
And so Sioux Falls is doing this, and that was the example.
And they actually give you a ticket.
They give you a little
A
placard.
little
I
tag
think it was a
that
little
you
placard, just so that you didn't have to pay the parking meter, I'm
Right.
sure.
So that's what downtown Sioux Falls answer to this is. I mean, everybody wants their downtown to thrive and be revitalized, and obviously we want that as well. But that parking issue is always a tough issue because we deal with it on a daily basis, and it does set a precedent when we allow people an exemption from that requirement. And so I want people, that was my only reason in opposing it in the first place, is because we deal with that every day. Like I said, from churches to hospitals to daycares to taxi companies. And so I just want everybody to understand that there is a precedent there. And while this is a unique circumstance, it's something that I wanted everybody to be aware of.
So is there parking on the west side of those yet?
There's some alley parking there, Mark. And of course, for convenience, I want to use as much as I can, right? I mean, and who knows, when the Dollar Tree or whatever gets built on the Iverson lot, maybe there's an opportunity there. I just can't count on it for right now.
No, I understand that. It's just that when most people have, and I shouldn't say most people, a lot of people have more than one vehicle already. And if
Yeah.
if you have 5 apartments, you may need more than 5 vehicles.
Yeah, I'm envisioning, again, these are gonna be, let's call them quaint, beautiful, very distinguished places to stay. So I'm not, there won't be a family of 4.
Yeah.
My hope is it's couples and
Right, yeah.
single people.
And I know Mr. Cranston did allude to this, but there was a church denied buying property because of parking. And that's, I mean, theirs was not, they were even closer than the 300 feet. And I'm sure there was more than just the parking, but that was the forefront.
Sure,
That was the
correct.
cover.
Sure,
Correct.
understand.
There was more to that, but that's correct.
Are those current 4 spots, Jeff, those are all on the west side through the alley? Or
Yeah, and you know, and again, it's just alley spots. I mean, honestly, I don't know if there's 3, 4, I mean, you could park but again, it's 25 foot wide, and it operated as a hotel till 1969 with no on-site parking. I mean, I can't magically make it appear, but I'm gonna let people park in my alley
You gotta
because
go
I won't.
State Fair model and have
Yeah.
6 or 10 in there. I mean, it can happen.
Yeah,
Plenty of room.
We could, in fact, maybe I'll get the trailers and the campers and everything, you know. We'll ease them in and ease them out. We'll create jobs by having valets.
Never know.
I like what you're doing, Jeff. I really seriously like what you're doing and
Thank you,
whatever,
Mark.
but it is stuff that we have to go through.
No, totally, and that's why we're here today, and as Barry said, we had, we want this to be a precedent for growth, and to do it the right way, not behind closed doors or discreetly or whatever. I mean, that's why we're all here, so.
I know you mentioned it before, Jeff, but what's the kitchen available? The efficiency apartment, I assume, wouldn't have a kitchen.
No, I'll put kitchenettes in all of them. I do this in California.
Like
I
a
have-
kitchenette and
Yeah, I have these small apartments in
each
California.
one would have their own
Each
private
one has,
bathroom?
yeah, it's minimal. Each one will have its own bathroom. Each
Yeah.
one will have some kind of cooking facility. It's not gonna be extravagant. You're not gonna cook a roast turkey dinner or anything, but you know, you'll be able to warm something up and have a cooktop.
Yeah, short-term stay is the idea.
Yeah, that's what we saw at the ice cream shop, is, you know, I had so many people come in the door and, you know, hey, I'm here working with Northwest Energy on a 6-month project. I need a place to stay, and I can't believe I'm staying in someone's basement, or, you know, it's just, it's a need, and I'm just trying to fulfill it here and make it real complementary to what we want to do as a city for downtown.
Sure.
Rich, you
Good to go? Okay, more discussion on this topic? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinrice,
Aye.
Bragg,
Aye.
Rubbish,
I,
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. The Board of Adjustments adjourns to reconvene as a city commission. Public forum, public comments may be sent during live meeting broadcast to the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed on the city's website at www.huronsd.com/citygovernment. In order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with your YouTube Gmail or use your existing accounts. Please state your name and address to the record. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. See anybody with public forum tonight? Do not. Our HR director is on a computer in the back of the room. He would take any questions you would have through Gmail or YouTube. So with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion, unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. 6.1, minutes of November 15th, 2021, city commission meeting. 6.2, fuel quotes for city departments. 6.3, accept the resignation of Sheldon Stroh from the police officer position. Number 2, accept the resignation of Alicia Reinhardt from circulation desk manager position. 3, request permission to post advertise for circulation desk manager's position. 4, transfer Glenda Maddox to catalog position at the library. 5, recognize Tanner Dornacher has completed the FTO training and is eligible for a pay increase. 6, terminate seasonal Broadland Creek golf employees. Need a motion to approve
It's so,
pay, 6.4 payment of the bills. Need a
Move to-
motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve by Commissioner Bragg. Need a
Second.
second on that? Commissioner second by Robish, okay. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Bid quotes, 7.1. Dennis, will you tell us about this bid quote, please?
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This is for a skid steer loader for the street department that was budgeted. We had 47,500 budgeted. The bid on Sourcewell came in at 51,085.98. So we are over on it, but the quotes we have for the trailer and the blade for them is gonna be under, so we're not concerned about that. It's gonna wash out. So we recommend approval to purchase this for street department.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Commissioner Weinrich, motion to approve. Need a second?
Second.
Commissioner Robish, second. Any more discussion on this item?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
I know through the Sourcewell program, you know, they kind of gather up those bids, so to speak. I noticed this particular piece of equipment is coming out of West Fargo,
Actually, it comes out of Premier Equipment,
does it?
but Bobcat on Sourcewell, they have a department specifically for contracts. So they'll do the contract. The previous one we got for solid waste actually came through Premier, the same path.
They awarded at Fargo, but then.
The
it
local
comes through the
dealership
local.
gets the,
Perfect, thank you.
yep.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Ordinance and resolutions, Tucker, will you handle 9.1 for us, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. 9.1 is the first reading of ordinance number 2231-23-406 pertaining to zoning, joint jurisdictional area regulations, R5 multiple family residential district, and consider setting the public hearing and second reading for December 6th.
Okay. Need a motion to approve.
Move to approve?
Commissioner Weinrich, move to approve. Second, please.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bragg. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 9.2, Tucker, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Second reading of ordinance number 2232-3-91 pertaining to personnel regulations, health insurance.
Okay. Motion to approve 9.2.
Motion to approve second reading?
Okay, Commissioner Smith, motion approved. Need a second on this item.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Weinrich. Any discussion?
I just asked if there was any comments to staff on that through HR.
Is there any comments on this?
No.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay, 10.1, presentation of the 2020 audited financial records, and we have Jason with us tonight. Mike, I'm sorry. Where did I get Jason from? You're so excited to be here, aren't you?
Yeah, you guys
You
are
see us
equally
like
excited. You
this.
guys have been thinking about this the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Couldn't hardly wait. Well, first of all.
Page.
Yep.
I did pass this out.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and the commissioners for the opportunity to
conduct the audit again this year, the financial statement audit for 2020. I'd like to thank Pauline and the rest of the finance office staff for their cooperation throughout the audit process. It was seamless, as always. They're always easy to work with and communicate throughout the year, so that makes the process go really well. That said, I'll probably direct your attention, well, let's go right to the full audit report in the gray cover there. Just kind of give you an idea of the layout of how this is compiled. Table of contents, of course, will direct you to certain pages that you're looking for. The main summary of the results of the audit can be found on Roman numeral 2. So I'll kind of direct your attention to that page. That's where our summary of all of our auditors' results lie. So the first statement there, an unmodified opinion, was issued on each opinion unit within the financial statements. That's a clean opinion. There was no adjustments there's a few adjustments we made throughout the course of the audit. Those adjustments have all been made, and the presentation, as they are, do not require any more further adjustments to be in accordance with GAAP or government auditing standards. So that is a clean opinion on the financial statements themselves. You can find the full report on that opinion on Roman numerals 8 and 9 if you choose to read that. The next two comments down, our audit did not identify any material weaknesses in internal control that are required to be disclosed, and our audit did not disclose any instances of non-compliance, and those would be non-compliance with any sort of contracts, grant agreements, whether federal or state, and so on and so forth. So we did not identify any non-compliance or internal control weaknesses that's required to be disclosed. We'll talk a little more about those internal controls in just a moment, but as far as what's required to be disclosed on a government's basis, you are a clean opinion on that as well. You can find that report on Roman numerals 4 and 5. The next two comments you can find on Roman numerals 6 and 7. That is specific to the, what's called a single audit or an audit in accordance with the uniform guidance. Because we had more than $750,000 of federal funds, that takes this audit one step further. That's that additional opinion. Again, and this is where we do additional testing, compliance, internal controls on federal grant programs themselves. We have an unmodified or a clean opinion on those as well, and we did not identify any findings that need to be disclosed from federal programs. So everything is good as far as that goes. One program was tested as a major program because it exceeded the $750,000 itself, and that was, of course, the CARES Act funding, the Coronavirus Relief Fund. And you can see the total, if you go to the very last page of that folder, page 54, you can see the city's federal expenditures for the year in each of the programs. Grand total is $4.1 million, of which 3.2 was the COVID-19 funding. So, kind of give you an overview of what the federal grants are receiving. One last comment there, the city of Huron does qualify as a low-risk auditee, meaning we've had at least 2 years prior to this year of clean opinions and the full government audit, so that's a good thing. After our opinions, it goes into the financial statements. I won't go into any details there unless you guys have questions. This all gets submitted to the state. The state reviews it, of course, as well, and they're in the process of approving it at the moment. And then this will all get uploaded and submitted to the federal government, the federal clearinghouse as well, so that'll be on the record. So. Any questions on that piece? Okay. The other letter to you guys, this does not become part of the public filing, does not become part of the state or federal filing requirements. This is a separate communication that we're required to do with you guys as the managing body. Just to kind of go through a little bit in layman's terms of what the process of the audit was. If we had any difficulties, we disclose those to you here. any disagreements, any other consultations with other auditors. If we had any of that stuff, we would disclose those to you here. Or any other findings that maybe don't rise to the level to be required in the government audit report. We didn't have any new findings there, but I did want to restate the typical comment that I've always had for segregation of duties. With a small organization, it's always difficult to completely separate assets from bookkeeping for those assets. You're just never gonna get complete control over that. That's where you guys come into play a little bit, and just to have awareness, that consent agenda where you approve the bills, make sure you're looking at those. You know, you guys have a responsibility to do that as well, and I know you guys do a good job with that. Make sure you understand what you're approving as far as the bills that are being paid. You know, questions, you know who to ask. And then, like I've said in the past, I think we've talked with Mr. Mayor on this before, maybe even go through a bank statement once in a while and can compare that to those bills that you've approved and say, okay, there's something here that looks out of place. You know, it gives you guys the opportunity to just add that one layer because you guys don't have control of the assets or the record keeping. You're just an oversight body. So you take that little additional responsibility, that can go along with this. Now the reason, a lot of smaller cities would have this particular statement in as a finding within their government audit report. I feel like you guys do have a good enough control system in place. Plus with the government grants, there's additional oversight. The state does a really good job of overviewing these grants and approving some of these things before the money's even issued. So we feel like some of those additional controls help compensate for the small organization that you do have. So that's why we don't feel this rises to the level of full federal reporting. And we just keep it as a comment in there as a reminder for you guys to always be diligent in your job and what you're doing. So, other than that, that's all I have for you guys. Other questions from me?
That internal control, that's been into every year it gets brought up.
Yep, it's brought up, like I said, as a reminder. We've got new commissioners that come on board, and we wanna make sure you're always aware that, you know, we're not a Fortune 500 company. We don't have that many people working in the office to where we can separate the cash coming in from the record keeping for that cash. So somebody's always got the opportunity. Usually it's gonna take collusion between two people or more, but you know, it's small enough where there's opportunities. The stories you hear about, it's basically the same kind of deal where somebody had an opportunity. The oversight wasn't quite strong enough to catch that, so that's where we ask you guys to just take your role seriously in approving those bills. Not always go through the motions, and you know, there's always an opportunity there to just make you aware that risk always is going to exist. So.
All right. No more from Mike?
I just want to make one comment, if at all want to look into any of this and read a simple, this is the management discussion analysis. It's kind of synopsis of all the financial records and what the year has been. Not that it's an easy read, but kind of lays out everything that's in the report itself. And if you have questions, please come and ask.
Yep.
Or ask Mike.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Mike, appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
See you again.
Sounds good.
We don't have to vote
Need a
that.
motion now.
Need a motion to approve the audit financial report?
Motion to approve the 2020 audited financial report.
Second.
Second, Bragg, Commissioner Bragg, okay. Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 10.2, offices, city offices will be closed on November 25th and 26th to observe Thanksgiving holiday. 10.3, Rich?
Solid Waste Department rubble site will be closed on Thursday, November 25th through Saturday, November 27th in observance of Thanksgiving. Thursday and Friday's garbage and recycling will be collected on Wednesday, November 24th. Please have your containers out Tuesday night as the trucks will not be rerouted. Once again, Thursday and Friday's garbage and recycling will be collected Wednesday, November 24th. If you have any questions, please call 353-8542.
Thank you, Rich. At this time, I take a motion to go into executive session.
Move to go into exec.
Okay, Commissioner Roberts moves to go into second. Have a second with Commissioner Weinrich. We're into executive